What's up out there, YouTube? Double D here with Tournage Du Bois. Welcome back. Today we've got this piece of ash. I'm going to try using some Modern Masters reactive paint with this top of the bowl. I'm going to make a bowl out of this and do a rim that looks like oxidized copper. My friend David out of the Flint Hills Woodturners Club out of Manhattan used this about a month ago in the demonstration for the club. I really liked it, tried out one piece, learned some things from it. So this is going to be my second piece and we're going to do that. So let's get going. Okay, so I have that piece sanded from 80 up to 320 grit. Now I'm going to apply some denatured alcohol. What this is going to do is it's going to clean up this graining. It's going to, what we call, pop the grain. In other words, it's going to make that, the wood, the outer surface is just going to absorb a little bit of the moisture, just enough to raise the grain just a little bit. And then what happens is then when we sand it with the 400 grit, it's going to knock it back even further. So if it does get a little bit wet, it won't stand up and raise that grain again. So that's what we call popping the grain when we do that. The nice piece is there's a little bit of chatoyance in the wood, as you see as it spins there. You see that flash? That is chatoyance, which is just the way the graining runs sometimes causes that flash. So I think this is going to look really cool. We've got that to 320 here in a moment. We'll hit it with 400 and then we'll go from there. All right, so we got that up to 400 grit. We're now going to hit it with our Brad's abrasive sanding paste. There is a link down in the description below to his Etsy store. He hand makes this, and it is good product. As you know, I use it. There's quite a few other people who are using it as well, so definitely check their channels out. So this abrasive paste is approximately the equivalent of around 12 to 1500 grit sandpaper. I like it because it gives the wood just a little bit extra shine, as well as smooths that out really, really well. And there's some more of that chatoyance. So what we do is we put the lathe at just about 600 RPM, maybe a little bit higher. That's how I typically do it. And you just buff this in. You don't need to generate any heat or anything like that. So the main thing is just using that abrasion to just smooth this out. And you'll just switch to another spot on this paper towel. And when you do that, what it does is that just keeps pulling that off. So when you get to a clean portion of the rag to where you're running this and you're not getting anything back off of it, that's when you know you're done. There we go. So let's get this flipped around and we'll flatten off the top. So here we have our Modern Masters. This is a primer, so we'll do 2 coats of this. The first one dries 15 minutes, the second coat then dries at least 2 hours. We'll follow that up with the copper paint. That does the same thing. You put the first coat on for 15 minutes, second coat dries for at least 2 hours. However, right after you do the second coat, you spray it with this patina, which will cause the paint to oxidize like old copper does. So we're gonna see how that works and go from there. I didn't necessarily care about how smooth this is because I'm hoping to do a little bit of texturing with the copper paint when I put that on. All right, so we'll let that sit for 15 minutes, then we'll come back and do the second coat. Well, that was the quickest 15 minutes you've ever gone through, so let's get the second coat of primer on. We're going to leave that to dry overnight, and we'll come back to that and do the paint tomorrow. All right, we are back, and now we're going to be doing the copper metal effect paint. So we'll put the first coat on. It will dry for about 15 minutes, and then we will put the second coat on. It will dry for approximately 2 hours, but we will spray the patina on right after we do that coat. Okay, so we'll give that about 15 minutes and we'll come back and do a second coat. And it's been 15 minutes, so we're going to do our second coat now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz it with the oxidizing spray and then put it on time lapse so we can watch it change and oxidize. I think that'll be pretty cool. So we're going to use the spray, and we'll spray that on and let it set for 2 hours. Alright, so I re-sanded the outside edge of this just to clean this up around the copper paint. So what we're going to do now is hit it with our Brad's abrasive paste on the inside and the outside, and then we will get our finish on. For our finish on the wood, we're going to use our tongue wax. We won't put anything over the top of this. Just leave it as is so you can feel that little bit of texture, get that different look through it. But the wood will be nice and finished. Alright, so we put that on. We're going to let that set for about 15 minutes and then come back and buff it off. Now with this tongue wax, what you want to do is you want to build that heat up. So turn that lathe up high, let that heat build up, and then work it back and forth. That'll work the wax right into the wood. So I typically start out around 600 and then I'll kick it up to 800 or 900 depending on how much heat I'm building, and get that worked in. Now we'll get over to the laser engraver and we'll get the logo put on. Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that project. So we used the Modern Masters Reactive Paint series, the copper, and we used it and we created the copper look with the patina on it. Learned this technique from my friend David Delker. I'm going to put his Instagram right up here. He's just started an account, so he'll be uploading pictures at some point, but he does some amazing work. He's the president of our Flint Hills Woodturning Club. So big shout out to David. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you've learned, how you've inspired me. So I appreciate it. But we have this piece of ash. We have it cut. It's a little right under 3 inches tall. It is approximately 5.5 inches across. I did undercut the edge here just a little bit, so this would be something to put potpourri in or something to display. But it has that reactive paint on the top, finished with brads, abrasive paste, and tongue wax, and then laser engraved with the logo on the bottom. Really like doing this. It's a good fun thing. One thing I will do, when I was making it, I didn't want to sand the top because I was doing the texture, and I got a little bit of the texture, but there's some spots where you can still see some of the rings in it. I don't think it takes away from the project. I don't think it takes away from the look, but that's definitely something I will work to avoid in the future. A little bit of chatoyance in that wood, which is always fun. Hopefully you can see that. Just the difference in the way the light bounces off that grain. If this is your first time here, please do consider subscribing. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Either way, leave your comments, feedbacks down below, and I appreciate that because that's how I grow. At any rate, we'll catch you next time.